know the anti-Semitism that is going around this world right now. It is mind-boggling how history is repeating itself. The world is turning on Israel, and they have done absolutely nothing wrong. You look at anywhere in history, and Israel has never once incited violence. They have never once incited a war, not one time. They have never done genocide. They have never done ethnic cleansing. They have never done anything. If Hamas and Gaza were to lay down their arms and just say, hey, let's have peace, Israel would actively go in there and help them rebuild Gaza, would actively help and take care of those people. They would not kill a single more person, not one. They would put down their arms and there would be peace. On the other side, if Israel were to say, hey, we're putting down our arms and we just want peace, we're done, let's have two-party state, whatever have you, we're giving up, we're surrendering, Hamas would go in there and kill every last one of them. They would not have peace. They would take that as a weakness and they would start slaughtering them. There would be genocide. That is the difference between Israel and Hamas. Israel, if Hamas were to give up and lay down their arms, there would be peace. The death would end. Not a single more person would die. On the other hand, if Israel were to give up, surrender, all Jewish people would be dead. They would just go in and slaughter them all. That is a difference between the mindset of the two nations. Now, everybody's trying to push for a two-party state, and two-party state is not going to work and will never work. Clinton tried that, and it was turned down every single time. We covered this in our second episode when we discussed Israel and Hamas. I would highly incentivize you to go back and listen to that episode where we bring in quotes from the son of the Hamas leader, the guy that actually established Hamas. His son breaks away and is now actively telling the truth behind what Hamas really is, and nobody is listening to them. The way that they work over there is they only understand strength. If you start negotiating with them at all, they take that as a weakness. They take that as the time to strike. They do not understand peace. They will never understand peace. They do not want peace. They want Sharia law throughout the world, and they want to expand that. And they only want Israel dead and slaughtered. That is their only goal. They do not want peace. The two-party state wouldn't last for sheer months before they would try to get more and more and more. They would never, ever be satisfied with that. If Canada or these other countries come in and think that let's just push for the two-party state and let's end the war, Gaza can have their country and Israel can have that country, and they think this is going to stop there and all of a sudden peace from here on for the next 100 years, they are naive and fooling themselves. That is not the goal of the Muslim Brotherhood or Hamas or Hezbollah or any of these Muslim extremists. They do not want peace. They want Israel gone and out. And then from Israel, they're going to move to other countries. They want the United States to fall. And we just discussed socialism and how that's trying to take over. They will back these socialistic countries. They will back anybody that is going to break down as a society. And then once society is destroyed, they'll come in and fight the socialistic tendencies of socialistic people because they want Sharia law. And they'll kill the socialists, they'll kill the communists, they'll kill them all. And they say the only thing that's going to exist is Sharia law. So right now they have a common enemy, which is the United States, the government, the capitalism, Israel, and they'll team up with those people. But once the societies are broken down, and then it's an all-out war between the two because one wants socialism and communism, the other wants Sharia law. So again, having a two-party state is never going to be a solution. So you go to things like this where Canada plans to recognize Palestinian state in September. They're legitimizing Hamas, essentially, giving them power that they should not be giving them. He specifically states out here, we are working ourselves with others to preserve the possibility of a two-state solution, to not allow the facts on the ground, deaths on the ground, settlements on the ground, the expropriations on the ground to get to such an extent that it is not possible. They're under the delusion that the two-party state is a possibility, that it's a solution, that it will create permanent peace in the region. They're delusional. They are under the absolute lie that that's what Hamas wants, or that's what Sharia law wants. That's what the Muslim extremists want. They're never going to be satisfied with that. And the scary thing about this, that the announcement by Canada and Carney up there came after France last week already said that they would recognize a Palestinian state. Britain said that they would recognize a state at the UN if Israel-Hamas war in Gaza had not stopped by then. The French president, Emmanuel Macron, who spoke to Carney before Canada's announcement, said the recognition of Palestinian state will revive a prospect of peace in the region. The announcement by some of Israel's closest allies reflect the growing international outrage over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, adding more and more pressure on Netanyahu, which again is all a lie. There is no humanitarian crisis from the Israeli side. The Israeli side, they are all out trying to take care of the innocent civilians within Gaza. It is an absolute lie that they're not, and they want that lie. The UN wants that lie. They don't want the Israeli state, because those nations that are controlling the UN right now are of the same mindset, that Israel doesn't belong there, they do not have a right to exist. We're just going to wipe our hands of it and let the Muslims just take care of the problem for us. And if there's another genocide, there's another genocide. It's just, oops. That's literally what it's boiling down to, is nobody cares. And if the Jewish people get slaughtered, then the Jewish people get slaughtered. That is the mindset of a significant number of UN nations, to where the UN is completely turned against Israel. If you go into the United Nations right now and you go into those corridors and you start talking to people, there is no support. No support for Israel as a country, as a nation. Now, openly, they're going to say, well, let's just do a two-state solution. But secretly, they're just saying, well, Israel just needs to go away. And then the Muslims just need to take over that entire region, and so we can just have peace in there and not even worry about it. But look what's happening to their own nations as that extremist Muslim behavior starts spreading all across Europe and even within the United States. They do not understand, they do not see, and they're purposely blind to what the extremist Muslim Sharia law type thing is, what their actual goal is. And they've professed that video after video after video, that they want to take over the world, that all nations must be destroyed and be subservient to them and their laws. That is their goal. They're not going to stop. It is not going to end. It is a disease. It is a virus that is going to spread. And yet all of them are complacently letting this spread. They just want appeasement. That's all they want. They just want appeasement. They want to, let's negotiate this and let's just appease everybody and let's just be happy. Again, not understanding that appeasement is not going to work. That's just not what they understand. That is not their culture over there in the Muslim worlds. They only want authority, they only want power, and they only want their laws to rule everything, including the European nations, including the United States. Their lack of understanding of the Muslim culture, of the extremist Muslim culture, is mind-boggling and deafening of how bad it is. Now we look at, well, what are the tools that they're using to create this distrust over Israel? How are they fomenting this false lie? There is truckloads and truckloads and truckloads, acres worth of humanitarian aid, food that is in Gaza right now that they are not using. And the UN is purposely not distributing it. Why? Because they've teamed up with Hamas, and they want a certain narrative to go out there that is anti-Israel, that is anti-Semitic. They do not want any support for Israel right now, none. because only by not supporting do they think they can either get a two-party state, which isn't going to be a solution, or they can just get rid of the Israeli problem by using somebody else, and then their hands are supposedly clean because they're the ones that went in there and killed everybody, and oops, sorry, but not our problem type of an attitude. And if you don't think that's real, they will sit back and watch genocide happen. They will watch the Jewish get absolutely slaughtered like back in the days of Hitler and not do a damn thing about it. You will watch UN nations actually do that and not step in and purposely turn a blind eye to it and just let it happen because they just don't want to deal with it. They don't want the problem. And if an entire nation has to die to just not have to deal with it anymore, they're willing to accept those losses. So look at these videos of all the humanitarian aid that is sitting there that the UN is purposely not distributing.
I'm currently standing right here, surrounded by aid that has gone to waste. Now, we continuously have heard about famine. Famine, famine, famine. Gazans are dying, civilians are dying, and it's Israel's fault. Now, help me in this moment where I'm now going to ask you exactly how is it that the aid is sitting here rotten and has gone to waste, but the two entities that have linked hands, one being a so-called humanitarian organization, the United Nations and all of its antennas that are linked to it, right? And Hamas, a terrorist entity, have made this the reality of Gazan civilians. This is not because Israel has stopped aid or has not made sure that aid has gone in to Gaza. This is because the aid is sitting here rotten. And how do we know that this is what's going on? I'm physically here in Gaza, where this is the reality of what's been going on. So again, I ask you, who is actually making this a thing?
There you have it. I mean, it's plain as day. The UN does not want an Israel problem anymore. The UN is anti-Semitic, the vast majority of the nations within it. The only support that Israel is getting is from the United States. That is it. If you go back to this article, where all these nations have turned against Israel and are saying they want a two-party state, the only nation not is the United States. The White House also opposes the decision to recognize a Palestinian state, saying President Donald Trump agrees with Israel that it would be rewarding Hamas. As the president stated, he would be rewarding Hamas if he recognizes a Palestinian state, and he doesn't think that they should be rewarded. A White House official said so he is not going to do that. President Trump's focus is on getting people fed in Gaza. And we showed in a previous video that now Israel and the U.S. government are actually handing out the food directly to the people. We got a video coming out Sunday where we are talking to U.S. Representative Burgess Owens, and at the end of that we actually show a video where the U.S. and Israel are bypassing the UN and bypassing Hamas and actually giving people the food directly. And you'll see the praise from the Palestinian civilians there saying, we love Trump, we love Trump, he gives us food. And Hamas right now is either retaining that food or selling it to the people to be able to support their efforts. And then they're purposely shooting and mutilating their own people in order to get the public outcry and then blaming it on Israel, that Israel's the one doing it, so that they can rule the news media. And then you'll have videos like this coming out.
وتثمينهم عائلات استهدفت أشلاء في هذا المكان كما تشاهدون. الآن نقل الشهداء وتثمينهم عائلات استهدفت أشلاء في هذا المكان كما تشاهدون.
All the videos you're seeing of Gaza, it's all fake. It's all fake. I can show you dozens of videos where they've lined up supposed dead bodies in the streets and covered them with white blankets. Dozens and dozens of people that supposedly that Israel has killed. innocent civilians that supposedly Israel just came and shot and slaughtered them all. Yeah, I can show you the video that they've put out, and then I can show you the actual full videos where all those people underneath those blankets, seconds after the video was complete, all got up and walked away. They were all alive. They were all Gazan civilians pretending to be dead. I can show you videos of children that were supposedly shot and in the rubble of the destroyed Gaza, to where seconds after the video is done, they get up and it's all makeup. I can show you videos of actors where the actor plays a doctor in a Gazan hospital, then all of a sudden he's a protester, then all of a sudden he's a Hamas guy, in all these separate videos. The same individual, just different clothing, where he is creating propaganda videos to go against Israel, and everybody's just believing them. Video, dozens of them. We could spend an hour just off the propaganda videos that are all fake. They are Hollywood quality, Hollywood type created, and they're called Pollywood right now. If you look up Pollywood videos on YouTube, you'll see it. They're all fake videos, and they're all out there meant to create a narrative that is anti-Israel, that Israel's killing, and the world is believing it. The world is believing that Israel's just out there slaughtering people. There's a video out there that's showing that where Palestinians are coming out to these humanitarian trucks trying to get aid, and then Israel is just shoot them all, kill them all. And it's fake. It's fake. It's all makeup done on one video. And the other video is actual Hamas trying to take the food so that the civilians cannot get it, and they're actually physically hitting them with the rifles and trying to push the civilians off the truck so they can't get the food, and they're purposely trying to starve them unless they come up with massive amounts of money to buy it. The videos are fake. The propaganda is fake. And the vast majority of the left within the United States, those who want to believe it, those that are at the UN, they want to believe these fake narrative. And a lot of them know that it's fake, and they're pushing the narrative anyway because they're anti-Semitic and they just want the Israeli state gone to end the problem. Again, not realizing that even if the Israeli state was gone and the Muslims took over the entire region, they would not stop there. They're still going to spread to the rest of the world because that is their religion. That is their goal, is to take over the world and have Sharia law everywhere. Again, more videos on the truthfulness behind this.
I'm Richard Kemp here at one of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's distribution centres inside Gaza. You will have heard a lot of propaganda about violent attacks in and around the GHF sites here. It's all lies generated by Hamas in order to discredit the GHF. The Hamas hate the GHF because the GHF delivers aid directly into the hands of the Gazan people without being seized by Hamas and sold at a profit. Very many of the people behind me here have told me it's the first time they've ever received free aid. So don't believe the propaganda that's been churned out by Hamas and amplified by too much of the international and national media.
So you got a British guy that's part of a humanitarian program that's, again, giving out aid directly to the people. Trump is trying to do that. The Israelis are now trying to do that, give aid directly out to the people. So it does not get confiscated by Hamas. It does not give Hamas the ability to sell the humanitarian aid to its own people. And just like you said, it's the first time ever that the people are saying that they're actually getting free aid, that they're actually getting taken care of. Because it's a narrative that the Hamas wants out there, and they're using their own people as pawns. They're killing their own people. They're shooting their own people because they want that narrative out there. And if you don't believe it, they're killing their own people, watch this video.
Hamas is killing its own people, not by accident, not in the middle of a crossfire, but in cold blood. Uday Nasser Rabi'i, the 22-year-old Gazan, the civilian protester, was barbarically tortured by Hamas, then to be executed. Uday's death does not fit the narrative, so no one cares, because he does not fit the story the people want to tell. But we are not here for narratives, we are here for the truth. And the truth is that Hamas is silencing its own people by killing them and massacring them in the streets simply for demanding a better future for the Gaza Strip, a future without Hamas. Now let us talk about the hypocrisy. When Mahmoud Khalil, a Colombia protester, was arrested in the US, the pro-Palestinian voices flooded the social media with posts demanding his release. The protest started from Washington, D.C. to London, but when a Palestinian, a Gazan protester, Uday Nasser Rabai, is executed by Hamas, no one even talked about him. The silence is deafening. We need to stop pretending that justice only matters when it's convenient. Palestinians deserve to be free from the tyranny within. We need to stand for the protesters in Gaza, for the ones whose voices will never be heard again.
So you have an actual Palestinian saying Hamas is killing us. They're killing their own people. And the rest of the world is, all they're following is the false narrative. So when this protester here in the United States was arrested, the rest of the world was up in arms. You got to let him go, that you shouldn't have captured him. But yet when you have Gazans dying in the hands of Hamas, protesters and everybody else, no one says a word. Because again, like he said, it doesn't meet the narrative. It's the anti-Semitic narrative that is going out there. And we see that all over here in the United States as well. When the other night, when the few black guys assaulted and the white guy there in Cincinnati, if that was the reverse, it would have been everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Because it's the white on black violence that they want, not the black on white violence or the black on black violence. It's a narrative that the media will only promote if it fits what they want it to fit. They will not say anything that is against their set narrative that they want out there. And it's a fake form of control. And Hamas knows it. And they're using the left, purposely feeding the left with these false narratives, and they're hooking it up, or they're buying into it hook, line, and sinker, and promoting only what they put out there. And again, the vast majority of these videos that they're putting out are Hollywood-type created videos that are fake. Fake deaths, fake dead people that get up and walk away after they're dead, kids that are screaming that they're Gazan civilians and they're just actors and they just go from place to place creating more videos. You have specific actors there that are playing different characters. One's a doctor in a hospital that's watching people die in the hospital. Another time, the same actors, a Hamas person screaming at others. And then another time, he's the civilian that's getting killed. It's horrendous, the amount of rhetoric, the amount of propaganda that is coming from this, and everybody is believing it. It's atrocious how bad the anti-Semitism is within Canada, within France, within Britain, within many other UN nations, where, again, they're not going to care if all of a sudden the entire Jewish state is destroyed and everybody within Israel is killed. And, well, I guess that solves that type of a problem. And they will let it happen. I guarantee they will just sit back and let it happen, saying, well, it's not our problem. We can't prevent that. Israel's got to be able to defend themselves. And they will justify genocide. I see that in my own comments where people are saying, well, if Israel can't stand on their own, if the only way they can stand is by U.S. support, not our problem, then they don't deserve to exist. Literally within my own comment section of my own videos. And it's appalling how people are so anti-Semitic that they would justify genocide like that. It is evil that we're fighting out there. And they're all buying into these false narratives, into these false propaganda, because they want to buy into it. They want to believe it. They don't care if it's false. Even if they knew it was false, they'd promote it anyway, because, again, the end justifies the means, right? It's anti-Semitism, and they don't care what happens to the Jewish state.
While Israel cleared hundreds of trucks that crossed into Gaza, the UN refuses to distribute the aid. These trucks stand idle inside Gaza, next to growing stockpiles of supplies. This is deliberate sabotage by the UN. UN, distribute the aid, now.
That's an actual video that's going out over airways now, that's being put out there by those who are actually on the site seeing exactly what's happened by the UN and by Hamas. It's the truth. There's a push to have either a two-state solution that we all know is not going to work, or to just let Israel be killed. Just let the state dissolve, let it be destroyed, and we'll turn a blind eye to it and just let it happen. Again, if you don't believe me, look at what's happening throughout the UN. There are people within the UN that are actually discussing this, that let's just pull all aid to Israel, and if they can fight and survive on their own, then let them fight and survive on their own. But if they need somebody else, and if they get slaughtered, if there's genocide there, then they didn't deserve to exist. And again, they rationalize that genocide. It is a Holocaust all over again. And they're actually thinking that's justified. They're actually thinking that that's the way it should be. And that, again, is just absolute evil. There are too many lies going out there to where the rest of us are starting to believe what Hamas is putting out there or what the UN is putting out there. And it's turning the world against Israel. Absolutely the whole world turning against Israel. And the only people really backing it is the United States. And again, it comes back down to our Judeo-Christian values here, that we are not going to let the chosen people of our Lord and Savior be destroyed and be slaughtered like that. It's just not going to happen. Trump's not going to let that happen. There's a lot of representatives on both sides of the aisle that are not going to let that happen, although there's significantly less on the Democrat side than there is on the Republican side. And then there's a lot of us, the people within the United States, that are sitting there looking at that and say, no, that's not going to happen. We need to continue those values, those Christian values that we have, that this cannot be allowed, that we need to continue our support for Israel, even though many people are saying, well, they've got to fight their own wars. They have been fighting their own wars. We have not put a single boot on the ground. Not a single American soldier has ever died on behalf of Israel. The only support we're giving Israel is weapons and money. And then they are fighting their own battles right now and winning their own battles right now. And then we supply, obviously, verbal support within the United Nations and around the world. And that's the support we're giving them right now. And people are even protesting that. Well, we shouldn't be giving them anything. And if you're protesting that, then you're for genocide. You're for a Holocaust. You're honestly anti-Semitic, and that's what you're for. Because again, we haven't dedicated a single drop of U.S. blood over there, and yet the Israelis are the only ones dying. They're the only ones fighting, and it's because of what they're doing that we were able to get rid of the nuclear program in Iran by simple bombs. Again, not sacrificing or putting a single boot on the ground. We're not starting another war against Iran, which we all praise Trump for not doing. And it's because of the Mossad over there that's given us that information to be able to do that type of stuff. Because we didn't have that information. We didn't have the intelligence to do that. Mossad did. So Israel is the only one fighting and dying for their own cause. And if it comes to the day where they are being absolutely inundated and a full-on invasion is occurring, then maybe at some point we might have to dedicate soldiers into saving them. But that is not right now. And Israel is strong enough to put up their own fight. But they are a very, 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 very small nation. I mean, they're not even the size of one of our states. And they do not have the economic power to fight every country around them and be able to support that much, or be able to support that many people who are going against them with the military power that they would need, which is why we support them with military power. We support them with money for their military. But we have to watch out for this anti-Semitic mentality that's going throughout our universities, throughout even our own voting bloc, our own citizens of this country, that are turning on Israel and actually fomenting the same thing that the UN is pushing, the same thing that Hamas is pushing, that Israel shouldn't exist, that they do not have the right to exist. They do not have the right to have a Jewish state. And then they're fomenting the false story that a two-state solution is a solution that will not only exist, but permeate through generations. That is an absolute lie and will never happen. They do not want a two-state solution. They've never wanted a two-state solution. And I am specifically talking about the Palestinians, about Hamas, about the other nations around there. They want Israel gone. It is river to the sea, gone. We have to fight the false narrative. We have to refute it every time it raises its evil head. So I hope we understand that, and I appreciate you for being on board.